Hey everybody, it's Alexander Dahl with Manifest Vitality once again. So it's a Monday, and so we have another interview that's ready to go. So we'll go ahead and just get that one out, and then we'll keep going as I get them ready. All right, here you go. Bye. All right, I've got Jonathan on the phone. He's another one of the musicians that reached out about the interview series going on. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the opportunity to introduce himself.
Hi, my name's Jonathan Wisniewski. I'm 26 years old. I play in a hardcore band called Utmost. I run my recording studio called Second River Studios. And I run a podcast called the Songwriter Speakeasy Podcast, where I get drunk with musicians and talk about songwriting.
Awesome. So, when with the people that I interview, I always like to start at the beginning. So when you first found music, what age were you, and what did you find in music that really kind of latched onto you and made you realize you wanted to be a part of it?
Well, my dad is a musician himself. He used to play music in Poland when he was growing up there, and then when he moved to the United States, a lot of how he made a living was by playing weddings and things like that. So, it was kind of passed on to me through family. Like I was always listening to music whenever I was driving with my dad or whatever. And yeah, I think I really, really like grew attached to music when I was like 12. Before then, I always listened to it, but I think when I was like 12, that's when I started like critically listening to music. So I'll be like, oh, like there's, eight vocal layers in this thing, like, and they're all doing different notes. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
so crazy, and that's before I even knew like what harmonies were or, what that you could do that with recording before I
Mm-hmm.
got into recording. And yeah, I think when I was 13 or so, I started playing guitar. I was playing acoustic guitar, and then I started getting into heavy music, like old Bring Me the Horizon, like dun, 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 like dumb shit like that. And
Mm-hmm.
then what's it called? Yeah, so I was playing acoustic guitar, and then when I was in high school, I uh, met a buddy, and made a band with him, and been playing music ever since.
Excellent. So you mentioned that you picked up acoustic guitar, or that you were just paying attention to it.
I picked up acoustic guitar, but I was listening to all kinds of music. I For some reason I just thought like, oh, acoustic is easier because like it's not plugged into an amp or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
I started playing acoustic and then jamming with this like hippie friend I knew,
Mm-hmm.
and he taught me a lot of like scales and things like that, and then how to improvise and stuff, and then eventually moved on to playing electric and heavy stuff.
Sure. And so in high school, when you did form your first band, um, was it just the two of you, or was there a group of you that were all kind of like ready to do it? Like, what was the process of the formation there?
Uh, it was like very chance. I just transferred into this high school from a different high school, and I saw this like rocker dude. So I was like, all right, let me just go up to him and be like, hey, I just got here. Like, I don't know anyone. Can I sit with you? And the dude was like, yeah, sure.
Nice. That's
But yeah, so I just sat with him, and then became homies, and somehow I like met up with these people I knew in middle school, and the person that was dating that girl um was a singer, and he knew this guitarist, and so he was like, yo, like, I heard you play music, would you want to play like this shit? And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I've always been down to do that. And then it just so happened the person I met in high school is a drummer, and he just got let go from his band. So we just kind of formed it together. And I was like, well, my dad has all this bass equipment. I'll play bass.
mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, that definitely sounds like it came together pretty chance. So,
Yeah.
once that band was formed and you guys were playing, did you guys play any shows, or was it kind of mostly just for fun?
Oh, yeah. We played a bunch of shows. we played some festival in Ohio. And we're like dumbass kids from Staten Island, so we had to drive like 8 hours to Ohio, and the there was a lot of pretty big artists on that bill. I think some members of Wu-Tang Clan were there. MGK was there. This band Attack Attack. This band Texas. What is it called? Oh my God, forgot the band name. Something Texas. They're like a metalcore band. And then yeah, just a bunch of like local bands, heavy bands, rap artists, like the weirdest freaking mixed genre show ever. So that was like a really interesting show. But yeah, we played, I don't know, I'm going to say like 100 or 200 shows or something over the course of a few years.
Yeah, that's a pretty good run for your average high school band for sure.
Yeah.
So how long did you guys stay together before, that gave way to future projects?
Let's see. We started I think when I was like 16, and then I think we broke up by the time I was a senior in high school, so like 3 or 4 years, something like that.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But yeah, I mean, our music was like shit, but it was like that weird, like risecore, like synthy breakdown, dumb shit. So I don't know. I definitely don't miss playing music like that. I've grown out of it.
Well, I would definitely say that that whole high school phase of being in bands, the ambition should never be to, do something that's groundbreaking or going to become like the next like
Right.
multi-million
Just to get
dollar
out
like
there.
sales. Yeah, it's exactly just to build the experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So, what was the next project that came along once that band broke up? How did you kind of reassert your ambition to continue participating in music?
So I was planning on leaving that band because I think I just wasn't getting along with members. It was a while ago. I mean, we were dumbass kids or whatever. So I was planning on leaving, and I had some other homies I met through the music scene that wanted to form something in a similar vein, but like more mature, I guess. And I think I was in that band for a year, and I left that band before we even recorded or played a show. And they went on to do things like with a different member, but I don't know. Again, it was just like a creative. I think I grew out of that and decided to join a new band with some other people, and that other band was called Alaska Young, and we we were playing kind of like more old school post hardcore like 2000 stuff, and more like emotionally driven and things like that. So that's where I kind of realized like what my tastes were. I was like, all right, like this is the kind of music I want to play. It feels like making music. It's not, it's not like, oh, I gotta crouch on stage and look tough and shit. So um after that band broke up, just been I was doing like some solo stuff. And then after that, I somehow like formed the band I'm in now.
Okay, so while you're doing that solo stuff and writing, how did you kind of idealize and envision the kind of next project that you wanted to be involved in?
Yeah, so the solo stuff was like really influenced by my friend's band Gatherers. They're from New Jersey, and I got a chance to intern at his studio, and that's where I kind of like really like that band recorded at his studio, and that's where the idea of starting my own studio kind of imprinted in my head. And I really looked up to this like different style of music that was kind of like touche amore, and like that sort of like Midwest emo vibe, Minnesota, but so yeah, when I was writing the solo stuff, it was very eye-opening that I could write songs, because before then it was usually my bandmates writing things and I just played bass. So yeah, and then I think I worked on that for a while, and never really did anything with it. And then formed a new band, and that's where I learned. Um, I've been recording for a little bit after that, so I've been recording all of our own stuff, and I've been more of a super involved songwriter for my new band stuff.
Excellent. So, tell me about the band that you're in now. What is it? What kind of band is it? And then, where would you like to see it go?
Yeah, so I'm in a band called Utmost. I play bass and am one of the songwriters. So that means that I typically, me and the vocalist will write songs on guitar and then structure everything else around it. So I'm usually, when we first started, it was kind of like a melodic hardcore project where like, we want these like emotive, like kind of songs and things like that. But we've been straying away from that sound and going more towards like surf punk and hardcore and kind of like some chaotic hardcore elements, kind of like the Chariot and Every Time I Die.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've also been digging this band Drug Church a lot. But yeah, so usually it's me or him writing music. When I write, I usually write all the parts as I go, and then leave it open to interpretation for the other members. So I'll like program drum parts and shit, and then I'll show it to my drummer Alex, and I'll be like, "Do whatever you want, but this is just like the idea I had."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we just released a split with a band called Bore. They're more so on that like Every Time I Die, like Norma Jean sort of vibe, and I recorded and mixed it, and yeah. So I guess the where I'd like to see us go is just honestly just write a lot more music and put out a lot more music. We also signed with this awesome label in Texas called Sunday Drive Records. So he's Jonathan from Sunday Drive has been helping us put everything out and like really really adding that kind of element that we didn't really know how to do ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. We're not like people that are like we want to make a bunch of money and sell out. We're just like we want to make fucking awesome music
Mm-hmm.
and make something that's us.
Mm-hmm. Well, the benefit to that is these days it's relatively cheap to make music, so
Yeah,
it's all in the hands of the artist kind of these days.
yeah, 100%.
So, in addition to the band that you're working in, you mentioned your podcast. So, I want to give you some time to kind of express how you decided to start doing that and, what kind of the subject matter is.
Yeah, so I run a podcast called the Songwriter Speakeasy Podcast, where I get drunk with musicians and talk about songwriting. And I decided to make the podcast because whenever I listen to interviews with bands, it was always about like dumb shit that no one gave a fuck about. Like, oh, like how's tour? What's your favorite cereal? Like, dumb shit. I don't care about that. And I don't think other people do either. So I was like, why don't they ask musicians like about their passion, which is making music? So I was like, why don't I just start doing that? Because I want to learn how to write better songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let me interview all these bands that, whose music interests me, and I'll ask them how they did it. And then maybe I'll learn from it. And maybe me like doing it enough, I could spot like what makes songs good, or like, why this works, why that doesn't. And yeah, so I usually just if I hear a band I really like, I'll be like, "Hey, do you guys want to be on the podcast?" And they'll either say, "Hell no, screw you," or absolutely.
Nice. Um, so, I want to have you share a couple memories of some really prominent things that happened to you surrounding music, whether it being going to like a really inspirational show or, a recording session that went really well, like that type of stuff.
Ah, man. I mean, like recording in general to me is so exciting because especially if the band is like open to my creative ideas, because it just really, there's like no, there's nothing more fulfilling than creating something, whether you're a painter or a musician or whatever. If you're creating something, to me it's like just the most fulfilling thing ever. So um just in general, working with artists and being in the room and like realizing like, oh shit, like we got like this creative spark going, like, that to me is like the most exciting thing. And I don't know, as far as shows, I mean, there's some like bad stories that are like fun to share. Like one time, a band I was in, we played some like this auto club. So it's kind of like a biker gang, but for car dudes. So like we went there and like these dudes were scary as shit. They were like doing drugs in the bathroom and shit. And we played the set and we overheard them going like, "Oh, we want to freaking uh like if they play another song, I'm gonna freaking beat their faces in it." So like it was kind of funny, like playing like weird shows like that. Like I don't know, it's just a story, but um yeah, I don't know. And then just making songs that mean something to you is to me the most important thing. It's not about like getting exposed. I mean, obviously I'd love for people to listen to our music, but at the end of the day, I don't write music for other people. I write it for myself, which is selfish, but I don't care.
I don't necessarily think that that's selfish either. I mean, I kind of do that similar thing where I write music that I would want to listen to,
Yeah,
and I do it for me. I don't necessarily care if other people hear it. Again, it'd be nice if they did, but
yeah.
it's not necessarily about that. It's about just the expression and the outlet.
Yeah. And I always like, there's some bands that have asked me like what sound should I go for so that band like, people like our music and will like gain a following. And I'm like, yo, don't write to what you think your audience wants to listen to, because if you write to that, maybe you write a record you don't like, and then maybe people don't listen to it. So now you just wrote this record that you don't even care about, and other people don't care about it. And I
Interesting.
think people see through that. Yeah.
That's a lot like how politicians pick their voters through gerrymandering.
Yeah. Well, politicians, you can't trust them for anything,
Right, right, right. But I mean, can you really trust a band that is gonna, try to target an audience that they don't really like?
I mean,
It's that whole
I think
personality thing.
that, yeah, I think honestly the audience will see through your bullshit. Like
Yeah,
if you don't write music you fuck with, then your audience will notice that and they won't care about your music either.
yeah, I completely agree. So on that note, what are some links so people can hear your music that they do care about?
Yeah. So we're called Utmost, UTMOST. You can find us at Spotify, any streaming thing. I think our Facebook is Utmost Hardcore. Most of our Instagram is Utmost Crew. What else? You can listen to my podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. It's on everything. It's called the Songwriters Speakeasy Podcast. And if you want to work on music with me, my studio website is secondriverstudios.com. So it's second the word studios, Second River Studios. So yeah.
Perfect. And I always like to give the person I interview the opportunity to put out their last word. So just a message that you kind of feel resonates with you.
Sure. You know, when about 4 or 5 years ago, I beat brain cancer. So I would just like to say that if you're struggling with some kind of illness, I hope you get through it, and don't let it ruin your attitude towards life. The whole time I had cancer, I was like, you know what, man, I'm just gonna fucking laugh it off and be like, yo, I look like Dr. Evil now because I have no hair from chemo and blah blah blah. So you know, if you're going through some shit, like, music is there to help you, and you know, your family cares about you, you're not a burden, and you know, hope you get through it.